So first of all, thank you for the warm welcome. And from my side, I would like to welcome all the devotees for today's session. And I would like to seek their blessings so that we can dwell in a very nice manner into this wonderful pastime and have some valuable lessons. There is a time difference. I am early in the morning. You are probably early in the evening. So hope the time difference doesn't bar us from our attention towards this pastime, and we all are able to dwell very nicely on this pastime. So before we begin, I would like to chant the invocation prayers. Om Timirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamriham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Gunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, thank you for the kind invite to this wonderful forum of ISKCON New Jersey, and I'm very glad to be amongst all the devotees over here. The unfortunate part of the current paradigm is I am not able to physically see who the audience is. Nevertheless, I have some understanding of who all are the audience. And the fortunate part is, even though we are located so far, we are able to connect for a spiritual discussion, and which is really wonderful because probably few years back we would not have imagined of conducting such kind of seminars across the globe, where the speaker is on different time zone and the audience is in different time zone. Very rarely it would happen. So now it is becoming the common way of interacting with devotees, and even in the outside world, that's how the paradigm is going forward. So today we will try to learn from this wonderful pastime of Sudama. This is a very special pastime in the sense that it is occurring in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 10th canto in 80 and 81 chapter. So around two chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto is dedicated for this pastime. Now, now if you are aware of what Srimad Bhagavatam is, Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana, the Purana which has no spot of any other kind of tinge of karma or jnana or yoga. Primarily, it is focused on the pure devotional service. And in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, which comprises of 12 canto, the 10th canto stands out in the aspect that it provides us the opportunity to get a glimpse into the wonderful pastimes of Lord Krishna. And in that 10th canto, we have around 90 chapters. So, in that 90 chapters, primarily the entire details of the various pastimes of Lord Krishna is being explained. And in that, towards the end, around 80 and 81 chapter is dedicated for this wonderful interaction of Lord Krishna with his dear friend Sudama, who was his childhood friend, while they were studying both together in the ashram of Sandipani Muni. And from this pastime, we can learn wonderful lessons, which will be very helpful in our own understanding and in our own practical dealings in our daily lives. So let us dwell more. This wonderful picture depicts how Sudama Brahman, when he happens to reach Dwarka, wherein Lord Krishna was residing, he got a wonderful welcome, and he was put to sitting on the bed of Lord Krishna himself, his personal bed, and he was washing his feet. And Mother Rukmini was offering the chamar to this poor Brahmana who was also the friend of Krishna. So, how we'll proceed? We will uh, discuss in various outlines of how to approach Krishna for help, balancing between relationship and mission. Uh, what should we do in peer association, responsibility towards family, how a devotee uses wealth, and these are the kind of outlines based on which we will try to learn from Sudama's pastime. So approach Krishna for help. So to speak a bit more, to peek a bit more on how this pastime unfolds. So Sudama happens to be uh, a Brahmana or a priestly class who was having difficulty in his financial way of managing his family. He was utterly poverty stricken. He had his wife and he has few children. And in such a scenario of a poverty stricken scenario, he was in such a situation that he was not even having many a times the food to eat 2 meals a day. And this was very difficult, especially for an ordinary person. This would be making the people mad because they are not having anything at home, and what to speak of even seeing the children not having any food. And in this particular situation, still Sudama was not willing to go to seek any help from his friend Krishna, who is the owner of everything in this world. Krishna says that I am the owner of everything material and spiritual, and thus what to speak. And even in the worldly terms, at that point of time, Krishna was the king, or you can consider as one who was de facto king of Dwarka. So he has immense wealth, and here the poor Sudama had no wealth, and he would have a very spontaneous reaction would have been that he would have loved to approach Krishna for some kind of help to manage his family, but he was not willing to do so because Sudama was not thinking at all of approaching Lord Krishna for any kind of material benefit, even if it is about his own sustenance. And this is the caliber and level of Sudama, wherein even after having so many difficulties, he is ready to undergo all of them and not try to pursue Krishna for any kind of material benefits. While in this situation, his wife, who was also a very wonderful devotee of the Lord, she was feeling a lot of pain because she was not able to see that her husband is having so much of difficulties in not even having food at home. And thus, her intention was also not the focus that she was suffering. Her intention was that my dear husband is suffering so much. And thus she implored Sudama that why don't you visit Krishna once in Dwarka and request for some help just to manage our family. And Sudama was initially internally reluctant. However, he then agreed to pursue the path requested by his own wife, and he said, okay, I will visit Krishna. And because he was thinking of something other reason, he was thinking that, oh, I will get an opportunity to meet Krishna. So this was, even though when he agreed to go to visit Krishna in the Dwarka, his feeling was that at least I will get to meet Krishna. After so many years have passed, and I have not got an opportunity to meet with Krishna. So we find that both are wonderful devotees of the Lord, both Sudama and his wife, and both of them don't want to kind of trouble Krishna for any of their own material benefits. But nevertheless, so both of them are willing to take shelter of Lord Krishna. While Sudama was thinking that I will not, I don't want to ask for any material help. Even his wife was not thinking of herself. He was thinking of another devotee whom she has taken the shelter of. That that particular devotee in the form of Sudama is now suffering, and therefore let's approach Krishna for some kind of help. So this is a very wonderful platform and a very high level of platform. We should also make us think that, okay, what is my level of platform? Even a small difficulties when it comes in our lives, we find that only material things may solve the problem. While here there are great devotees, exalted devotees, who are having so much of difficulties, and still their focus is on how I can be serving Krishna and not how Krishna can be fulfilling my needs. Nevertheless, for a devotee, no matter what the situation is, his only shelter is Krishna. Whether approach for anything, a certain time a devotee may have difficulties in life, and we may not be able to match the exalted platform of Sudama and his good wife. We can at least try to focus on one aspect, that no matter what, Krishna is the solver of my problems and nobody else. So we found that how Sudama was utterly poverty stricken, and in that poverty stricken situation, he got this request from his wife. And even the wife was not selfish in her own request. She was not thinking that, oh, I am suffering, so Sudama should solve some problem of mine, which generally the scenario is. In our conditioned nature of our life, you would think that how my problem gets solved, irrespective of how much difficulty the other persons within the family may have or within the community may have. Instead, we focus that how my problem gets solved. But even the request of Sudama's wife was focused on others' problem and not one's own problem. And that's how they thought of meeting Krishna. And for Krishna is the only shelter of devotees. So this is how Sudama then finally, after some amount of discussion, agreed to visit Krishna in Dwarka. And Krishna wonderfully reciprocated in the form of giving a nice welcome to Sudama. And he was, in fact, happy just by the aspect that I am, I am getting to meet Krishna. Sudama was happy, and Krishna was happy just in terms of serving Sudama. And there, Krishna followed the wonderful etiquette of respecting a Brahmana. He was washing the feet of Sudama. Even though he's the supreme personality of Godhead, still he is eager to serve the lotus feet of Sudama because he's in the priestly class. He's a Brahmana, he's a teacher of everyone. And then Krishna doesn't bring into the fact that I'm the supreme Lord, so ultimately everyone should worship me rather than anybody else. So this is the greatness of Krishna. And then the pastime unfolds further, wherein Krishna asks for, "What have you brought for me? Did you brought any? Did you bring anything for me?" And Sudama was hesitant because while he was coming, both he and his wife thought that I should take something for Krishna. And at that point of time, his wife happened to collect some amount of flat rice from the neighborhood Brahmana's family because they were so poor that they had nothing to eat. And so even for giving anything to Krishna, he happened to bring in she happened to bring some flat rice from neighborhood, and that's how she tied it in a particular cloth and gave to Sudama. And Krishna knew because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is residing in everyone's heart. He knows everything in and out. He knows everything about everyone. And he knew that something has come from my dear devotees. And he was eager to, capture that flat rice. And that's how he happened to take the flat rice, and he happened to eat one morsel of that flat rice. And then Mother Rukmini happened to halt him further on taking that another morsel, because she said, if you take another morsel, I will have to become the maid servant in Sudama's home. And then finally Sudama happened to come back to his own abode, and he found, oh, such a uh, big palace has come and everyone is there. Servants are there, and my wife is looking so beautiful. See, he was surprised. So it is explained by acharyas like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this aspect, that Krishna did not wanted to tell Sudama of how he is trying to solve his problem by creating that particular mansion and providing the various aspects of material wealth, because he was feeling that I am not able to reciprocate with Sudama. He was thinking that Sudama had nothing with himself, and then he actually borrowed some flat rice from someone else and gave to me. So first of all, he gave himself everything to me, and then he did not even have anything, so he borrowed something, and that's how he gave to me. And Krishna being the supreme lord, there is nothing beyond beyond the ownership of himself. So he can't ask from someone else that give me something, because everything belongs to him. So ultimately, no matter how much Krishna gives to Sudama, it will be less than what Sudama has done, because Sudama has given more than what he had. He actually begged something more from someone else and he gave to Krishna. And Krishna, because he is the owner of everything, he can't beg any from anyone, because no one else has anything which Krishna doesn't has. And so he cannot beg from someone else, and thus Sudama has done a greater service and I cannot reciprocate. And this is the magnanimity of Krishna. He was feeling embarrassed that, oh, I am not able to reciprocate with you know Sudama appropriately. So therefore, no matter what be our situation, whichever platform we are, uh, whether we are devotees who would not like to seek anything from Krishna, or whether we would like to seek some solving of our problems, or whether we would like to seek anything in this world, we should try to we should try to approach Krishna for that, because he is a loving father, he is the loving friend, and he is the way, and he is such a loving Lord that he can reciprocate with us in such a manner by which our desires will be fulfilled. At the same time, our love for him will increase manifold. So here we find the picture epitomizing how Sudama is approaching Krishna, and Krishna is willing to kind of welcome him at his home. So in this, since it's a Zoom online session, I have some activities, some small quizzes in between, and devotees can feel free to make use of the chat to answer them. So activity one: why did Lord Krishna not tell Sudama on how he was going to fulfill his unspoken request? A. Krishna wanted to give a surprise to Sudama as a friend. B. Since Sudama did not tell the purpose of visit, Krishna also hid his way of fulfilling. Krishna was embarrassed at being unable to properly reciprocate Sudama's offering. And D. Krishna wanted Sudama's wife to receive the gift first, as she insisted on Sudama's going. So please make use of the chat, and I am also looking at the chat. So I see a couple of responses. I see some more. Wonderful. Thank you. So all of us are on the same page. We all are saying that it's option C, because Krishna was being embarrassed that I am not able to fulfill the way in which Dama was, offering his part. Let's proceed further. So balance between the relationships and mission. So here we find that when Sudama and Krishna were happily interacting with each other, just like two friends happened to discuss, they were discussing various things, and they were discussing how in their childhood they were playing with each other, how they were, interacting with each other in the ashram of Sandipani Muni, and how different pastimes were being played. In terms of learning, in terms of different kinds of activities which were happening. So in this wonderful, in this childhood time, they also had an instance wherein the wife of Sandipuni Muni happened to request uh, Krishna and Sudama to fetch some dry wood from the forest. They both had gone, and it is explained that they encountered an unseasonal storm. So the Acharya explained it seems to be a winter season wherein the storm is not expected. And at that point of time, both of them happened to find that there was a storm which was occurring in the place of wherein they had gone to fetch the dried wood. And because of the storm, they both had to take shelter of some trees in the forest. Now, in this wonderful pastime, now Lord Krishna is the owner of everything. He's the controller of also of everything. So he could have controlled the storm, but while performing certain pastimes, certain time he would like to, show some things and behave like a way by which we can learn some things. So here, both Sudama and Krishna, they were holding hands of each other, and they had also by this time happened to collect some dried wood, and now it was very stormy, so they couldn't have come back to the ashram where all of the students and even the Sandipuni Munimuni and his wife were residing. So they had to take shelter of some tree over there, and they were holding hands, but they were not letting go of the dried woods because they had collected for the service of their spiritual master, who was Sandipuni Muni, and their good wife, and his good wife, because uh, in the ashram of the students, both the spiritual master and the wife would be treated as one's spiritual master. So any instruction from the Guru Mata would also be considered on a similar platform. And here, in spite of the storm, they did not let go of each other, and neither they did let go of the dried wood, because they felt both of them, we have to hold each other. We don't have to let go of each other because the storm can create more problems. Likewise, we might find many difficulties come in our individual lives, depending on different scenarios. There can be physical problems, there can be emotional problems, there can be intellectual problems, or there can be n number of problems while a devotee undergoes his path or career of spiritual journey. And at that point of time, we require good devotee friends who can reciprocate with us in such a manner that we are able to undergo that storm in a manner by which we pass that phase. And while we are passing that phase, we have to ensure that we do not let go of the wonderful instructions of spiritual life which has been coming across our way, so that we can make use of both the spiritual instructions, and we can also make use of the way by which we can pass that phase. So both aspects are needed. If we only focus on the problems and let go of this wonderful Krishna consciousness or the spiritual life which has come to us, we might find that we may get exhausted with that particular problem. Or if we are not empathic towards devotees while they are passing through certain phases, we might find that it may become very insensitive towards them, which may eventually lead to more problems. And it may not be a very healthy relationship between friends and devotees and communities. So here we find there was obstacles in the form of rainfall. They were catching the hand together and not leaving the dried woods. So no matter however difficulties come, we have to try to strike a wonderful balance between those two aspects. We need to hold the hand of our friend, and we need to carry the wood which is required for the spiritual service. So both are required, and both have to be done in such a manner that it go harmoniously in our life. And that way we will find it's a very wonderful path. The path of devotional service is a way by which, in which when one comes, he or she is automatically taken further in the spiritual life just by one's mere acknowledgement that this is something which I want in my life. I want to be servant of the Supreme Lord, and I would like to serve and please him. And then everything unfolds in due course of time. So here we find a wonderful picture of Krishna and Sudama. Both are caught in the forest, and there is a storm around, and they are holding each other, and they are also holding the dried woods. So activity 2, make use of the chat. What is the lesson learned from the pastime of Krishna and Sudama in forest? A. Company of friends make difficult things easier in life. B. Relationship with devotees and service to spiritual master should go hand in hand. C. In times of difficulties, better to stop practicing spiritual life and focus on finding good friends. And D. Focus on spiritual instructions and don't worry about other things. So please make use of the chat. So I see B, lot of options of B. Thank you. So yes, the as per our discussions, we would like to focus on point B, and I see that we all are wonderfully going together in this learning. So in this particular pastime, we find that Sudama and Krishna, they sorry, Sudama and Krishna, were wonderfully holding each other, and they were having, wonderful service also going together. So both Krishna and Sudama, when they met finally in Dwarka, they were discussing many things, and they were discussing that how they happened to be in the forest in this particular pastime, wherein they had to serve in such a manner to fetch the dried woods from the forest. They were also discussing various other things, like Krishna was asking Sudama that have you got a compatible wife who are able to understand, who is able to understand, and cooperate with you in your own pursuit of spiritual life. So this is also, wonderful things which come in the peer association. Krishna was talking about this pastime, and he was also talking about some apparently worldly things, like how have been you married, how was your wife, how is she compatible. So another aspect which especially if devotees are those who are already married, we would find that a compatible spouse makes the journey of anything, be it a pursuit of spiritual career, be it a pursuit of relationships outside our family, anything, it becomes very simpler to manage. But when the compatibility is not there, then apparently the same things which was very simple becomes very difficult. So here, Lord Krishna is talking with Sudama in those aspects, that how are things, and he was also asking that you are apparently not in a mendicant dress. So Sudama, so it looks like you are married, and so in one sense, Krishna was indirectly asking that I hope you are not taking a dress which is not compatible with your own behavior in the worldly level. So because many a times we find people have dresses which are not compatible with their nature, and so in this case, especially in those days, everyone would have their dress codes. Like if Sudama is a householder, he would not wear a mendicant dress. If someone is a mendicant, he would be wearing a mendicant dress and not otherwise. And today's world, it's a bit mixed. A certain time people may wear dresses which are incompatible just for making a picture out of them, and that's it. So anyway, so in this way, Krishna is also interacting with various on the various other fronts, that how are things in your life, and Sudama in turn is also discussing. So therefore we find that here both Lord Krishna and Sudama, they were acting on a level of wonderful friends. And nevertheless, one is the Supreme Lord himself, who is purity personified, and the other is a great devotee of the Lord, who is also a, a pure soul who is interacting with the Lord in a friendship mellow. So it becomes very, very relishable when two of such great personalities discuss. And at our platform, we also may have our friends whom we discuss, and in that peer association means where we can discuss with each other, and we can also help each other by providing some improvements, because otherwise who would tell if like here we find Krishna is indirectly asking that your dress is compatible. Now a person who is not very close in relationship may not be able to ask such things with Sudama. Nevertheless, in our peer association also, we can make use of this wonderful aspect of revealing each other and discussing with each other how we are going in the spiritual journey, how we are proceeding, how what kind of difficulties we have, and also discuss on the spiritual aspects. Uh, and of course, there are some things which we should not do in the peer association. The peer association, when I am saying, especially it is referring to peer association in spiritual life. So it's not that in the peer association means okay, let's go to some latest movies together, or let's watch some latest whatever sports match which is together. Those may also be there. Better than that is you can play together. That may increase the relationship even more. So here we find, uh, you know, the peer association, especially when the spiritual journey, has a lot of benefit to us. It helps us share our joys and sorrows. It also helps us our problems. It may also help share our weakness. Of course, that may require a bit more strong relationship among the peers. And nevertheless, at least the joys and sorrows and problems can be easily discussed. And friends can help us correct our mistakes in case we are going a bit off track. Like certain time, especially in these days, the mobile is becoming the part and parcel of everyone. And many a time, devotees make use of this finger, which is supposed to be away from, the chanting of the beats. We try to make use of that for scrolling on the mobile. So different techniques one may innovate. So certain follies may be coming up, but those can be corrected in the friendship. Friends can joke us with us. It's not that friends always has to be very strict with us, and they can joke with us. They can make our heart light, and therefore even in this, and we should look for like-minded friends. If we are following a spiritual path, we can look for friends who are also having that same aspiration of spiritual path, because it should not happen that there is so much of incompatibility in the desires that one is pulled away from one spiritual path and one is taken to the materialistic way of life. So both are needed. One needs humor and one needs a spiritual aspect of life. Friends will reciprocate. Like here we find Krishna coming uh, to Sudama in a way by which he reciprocated. Of course, he is the Supreme Lord himself. So when he reciprocates, it's a very different manner. But nevertheless, in our small capacity, we can cooperate with each other. We can cooperate with our friends and acquaintances in such a way that when difficulties are there, uh, he's able to come to our rescue. In fact, when it comes to Lord Krishna, he emphasizes so much on having a loving devotional service. He's asking for all of us that reciprocate in any manner. In fact, this verse comes in Bhagavad Gita in 9.26, wherein he says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo Me Bhaktya Prayakshati Tadam Bhakti Uparitam Ashnami Prayatatmana. And you'd be surprised to know. So, in this verse, Lord Krishna explains that you offer me anything with loving devotion in terms of a leaf, flower, a flower, a fruit, and some water. Just offer me with leaf, with some loving devotion, and I would be eager to take them uh, because I am eager for that loving devotional service. And you would be surprised to know that this same verse comes as it is in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 81st chapter, wherein this Sudama and Krishna's Leela is happening. As it is, the verse is as it is in 10.81.4, if I recollect. Yes. So it's exactly the same verse. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayaktati tadam bhakti uparidam ashnami prayatatmana. So Lord Krishna is again telling to Sudama when he is refusing that, I don't want to give that flat chipped of rice, the cloth bag of flat rice. Then Lord Krishna is saying, give, I am eager to accept anything. Why are you hesitating? And so even in our relationship with on a worldly platform, trying to learn from this, within our friendship circle of spiritual circle, we can try to reciprocate in a manner, uh, not thinking what the other person has given in terms of material aspect, rather thinking that what is my capacity of serving the other person. The person needs time or energy. Can I also offer that same? So the reciprocation has to be thought from what I can reciprocate of and not what other person can give me. So this is a very wonderful way by which we can have in the peer association. So another activity coming for all of us in the association of peer devotees. How should we express our friendship? Only discuss about spiritual pastimes and teaching from scriptures. B. Try to get into other's life and solve their problem. C. Look out for opportunities to suggest health tips and our own fitness way. And D. Express concern for the body, mind, and soul of the friend. So let me look for the chat for the answers. Wonderful. I see D and D. I see few D's. Wonderful. So thank you for the wonderful answers. So yes, as this wonderful quote from Radhanath Swami is there, real friendship is a real concern for the body, mind, and soul of the friend. So we have to be while dealing with devotees, while devoting with dealing with our devotee friends, we have to focus on all the aspects and not miss on one or two, because then it may lead to some other kind of difficulties, and the other person may also not be able to relish our reciprocation. So with that, we'll proceed further. From this wonderful pastimes of Sudama and Krishna, we can also learn something for a family responsibility. Like we see, Sudama was not eager initially to go. And in fact, he was in such a highly elevated platform that he was not even willing to ask for one's basic daily needs. And even though he was having so much of an opinion of himself that he would not like to go, nevertheless, he was not willing to also let go of whatever financial responsibility one has. He was willing to take the responsibility that while we are poverty stricken, it's because of I am not able to earn properly. Sudama is not able to earn properly in this wonderful pastime, and he was facing this difficulty because of his entire family was suffering. And the wife is also proposing a certain option of. Yeah, thank you. So the wife is also proposing certain options that why don't you visit Krishna and try to offer request for some help. And from the Sudama platform, he was not willing to ask for anything. And here, the wife is asking that, why don't you approach Krishna for some kind of help? Now, Sudama was willing to listen. In fact, the words explains that the wife was little fearful because when she was approaching, she knew that Sudama would not be agreeing so easily to ask for to go to Lord for any material benefits, and so she was having some kind of fear that approaching Sudama. But Sudama was also open. He agreed to go and visit Dwarka to meet Krishna. So we find no matter, and this is an exalted platform of Sudama. So what we speak of us, we ourselves have many limitations, and we have sometimes wrong understanding of our life, and therefore one should be eager to take opinion of each other in our carrying out of our responsibilities of family life. So first of all, this pastime, Sudama kind of accepted the financial responsibility, and we also find that how he was eager to respect and mold as per spouse opinion. Of course, in this pastime, the wife was fearful towards approaching Krishna, towards approaching Sudama, that he can visit Krishna. But in these days, even the husband is fearful for approaching the wife. So, because many a time the opinions do not match much. And therefore, it is applicable these days for both the sides that, be eager to respect and mold based on the other's opinion. In the traditional times, the wife was naturally respecting and molding one's opinion, and therefore it was not much being discussed. But these days, both of the parties have to understand and respect the thoughts and mold one's opinion. And they both were also concerned. In fact, It is explained that both of them may have their own platform, but they were also seeing that the children were not getting food, and one cannot forego one's responsibility towards the children who have been provided by the Supreme Lord to us, so that we can take care of them in a very Krishna conscious manner, in a very devotional manner, by which they can also grow up to be wonderful devotees of the Lord. So that in that course we have to take care again of all the three aspects of body, mind, and soul of every soul who is in our custody. And of course, during the pastimes, when Sudama is with his own kids, and while Krishna is with in his Dwarka, both of them are actually discussing about how the wonderful dealings with the Lord is, how the wonderful dealings with their devotees are, and both of them are inspiring their respective families. Krishna is inspiring his family that how the wonderful devotees are, and the Sudama is inspiring his family on how the wonderful relationship with Krishna is. And that's how one takes the fulsome responsibility of the entire family. And even at difficult times, the the person in the family, they take the responsibility of taking care of everyone's. And that's how the wonderful aspect of householder life comes, wherein one is not focused so much on one's own, but one is also focused more on how to make sure that the body, mind, and soul of everyone in the family, be it parents, be it kids, be it one's own wife, be it servants if they are at home, everyone is taken care in such a manner that everyone is inspired in Krishna consciousness. So you find that in the Grihastha ashram, especially, it provides us the umbrella wherein one can take care of everyone, irrespective of how, what kind of their opinion may be, so that they can progress wonderfully in their path of Krishna consciousness. And that's how, all of everyone grow in their own way. Like the children may not immediately be able to understand philosophical aspects of spiritual life, but they would love the singing aspects, they would love the dancing aspects. Likewise, parents may not be able to take the austere aspect of spiritual life, but they may very well may be able to take care of teaching the kids, or giving us good counsels in our worldly life. So everyone is being taken care in the household life, so that they all can grow in the spiritual life very nicely. And of course, if someone takes if someone is in the brahmachari order of life, they already have to expand this umbrella even more to account for many families in the community. So in either case, at least for a householder, he has to take the responsibility of this small family. It may be a family of six or eight, or in these days, it may be even lesser. No matter what the size of the family is, one takes a fulsome responsibility that how every aspect is being taken care of, and everyone is inspired in their respective life, so that they can pursue their spiritual path properly. Another aspect which we can learn from this wonderful pastime of uh, Sudama and Krishna is how a devotee sees the wealth. So we find that Sudama in this particular pastime, he was so much poverty stricken that he did not had any food. And when he was about to visit Krishna, he did not had anything to take. So then his wife actually, begged for some chipped rice from the neighborhood priestly families, and that's how he happened to take this cloth bag of filled with flat rice. So likewise, no matter what be one's economical situation of one's life, one should have this mentality that my life is filled with abundance and not with scarcity. Here, Sudama did not say that, oh, flat rice has come. At least let us eat properly now, so that I am able to take the long journey properly. And neither he thought that, okay, now flat rice has come, so at least feed the children or feed yourself. So this was not the notion. In spite of being so much in the poverty-stricken situation, one is in the abundance mentality. A householder should cultivate this mentality, wherein he he should not feel that I am having less, especially in these days. No matter if we meet with anyone, he is earning some salary or he is having some business by which he is making some returns. He always feels that I am having less, either because of borrowing too much in the form of loans, or either because of having an extravagant life, or either because of the social pressure outside that I should have at least this much of uh, you know big house or big car or whatever it is, and one always feel that I'm having less. This mentality is called a scarcity mentality, that one always feels that actually I am having less. You see, the other person is having so much, and my neighbor is having so much, and my friends are having so much. Instead, one should have an abundant mentality that I am having enough. I am having enough for my needs, and for especially in these days we find that most of the even those who proclaim that I'm having less, they have sufficient amount of wealth. At least they can eat food properly. And here we find Sudama was not having even food to eat, still he was cultivating the abundance mentality. So therefore, as devotees, we have to understand that we have to cultivate this abundant mentality. I am having enough, which the Lord has provided to me, and I am having enough so that I can even serve others. Now, it may increase or decrease depending on how the impact of time happens on us, but nevertheless, the the mindset has to be that I have sufficient which is required in this world. All I have to focus is how I can contribute to this world in a way by which the the message of Krishna consciousness propagates, and then how I, as a householder, performance duty, so that everyone in the family feels the same, cultivate the same mentality of abundant mentality, rather than thinking that I am not like the child may say, that I am not having this pencil, see the other child is having that pencil. Or when the teenager grows, he or she thinks that I am having this mobile, the other person has having a more costly mobile with more features. And as grown up, he may start thinking that I have this much amount of wealth and property, and the other is having more. So the focus on not having is something which restrains our capacity to expand our vision, because we are limiting ourselves on thinking that I am not having. Whereas, everything is owned by Krishna ultimately. And all one has to do is let go of that ego that I am owning anything. And if Krishna is owning everything, he will definitely take care of his devotees in such a manner that the devotee gets sufficient and he is progressing further. In fact, in this particular pastime, Sudama was not wanting to have anything extra. He did not want to approach Krishna for anything. And as Acharya explained, that why, when actually Sudama approached Krishna in the palace of Dwarka, at that time, Krishna a bit felt that, see, he's such a wonderful devotee of me, and still he's in poverty stricken. So he was feeling a bit, that my devotee. So Acharya explained that actually the devotees may exercise renunciation in two forms. There are some devotees who are completely averse to wealth, and there are some devotees who are indifferent to the wealth. Like in the case of Sudama, he was averse to wealth, and in such cases, Lord doesn't try to interfere with their desire and push wealth on them. And certain devotees may be indifferent to the wealth, like Prahlad Maharaj, and then he was having so much of opulence in the form of kingly opulences. So in this case, Sudama was also getting a bit attached to being these averse towards wealth, and therefore, the Lord finally reciprocated in such a manner that so much of material wealth came, which was equivalent to that of the heavenly wealth, uh, and thereby removing even this last tinge of feeling of small sense of pride in the Sudama's heart, as Srila Jiva Goswami explains that I am a poverty-stricken Brahmana, and I am a wonderful, I just want to be like this. So Lord Krishna even took care of that. Of course, you know, we are not at that platform. For us, you know, uh, for we may not even cultivate the we may like to cultivate pride on many other things than the pride on being a poverty stricken brahmana. So this is a very different platform, but nevertheless pride in any form for a devotee is ultimately taken care by the supreme lord himself, and therefore we should try to avoid any kind of pride, no matter be it of learning, be it of wealth, be it of beauty, be it of high birth, or any other kind of pride which one may try to get into when while in this being in this world. So we find one should cultivate an abundant mentality and not think that I have always less. And our little home should be considered as a little temple, and the husband is like the temple president who is also thinking of how to get wealth and how to see things, and the wife is a temple commander, because we may get the wealth, but how to make use of it in a krishna conscious manner, it also requires a lot of thinking. And both the wife and husband has to think on this, that how whatever we are owning, whatever we are gaining, it should be made use of in such a manner that there is a wonderful spiritual ambience being created. It is being used for the service of krishna, it is being used for spreading the message of krishna in the neighborhood and in the community. And especially gradually, as in the initial stages, we may have to clearly understand that this is spiritual aspect of life and this is material aspect of life. However, as we evolve gradually, as we mature more, we have to understand that our whole life is for a spiritual life. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, for a householder, even his earning, uh, he's going in the occupational duty, is not breaking his satatam kirtan. He it is not breaking his continuous kirtan, because whatever he is doing for occupational duty is ultimately to promote that continuous kirtan in his life. Just like for celibate, one may have to take bath and take sleep, otherwise one cannot function. Likewise, for a householder, one may have to take uh, take some occupational duties in this world, but that should not break one's that doesn't break one's spiritual aspect, spiritual continuity in spiritual life, provided we are in that consciousness that this is ultimately for service of krishna. So in our life also we should gradually cultivate. And wealth or no wealth, some may have wealth, some may not have wealth, some may have less, some may have more, some may have some different kind of opulence. Service to krishna is the key. So until unless one has this key, everything remains locked for us. So we have to focus on how the service to krishna is there, and with that key, wealth or no wealth is ultimately the same for a devotee. Like in this case, Sudama, before being getting the wealth, he was poverty stricken, and he was discussing with kids and wife about the wonderful pastimes of the Lord. And after he got the abundant wealth, he was still in the same mindset of discussing about Krishna, on how to spread the message of Krishna in the neighborhood and everything else. So focus on service has to be there rather than whether one has wealth or no wealth. So an activity 4 coming for all of us. I am now looking at the chat. How should, sorry, yeah, this has expanded for me. How should a devotee approach wealth in his personal life? Focus on increasing one's wealth as much as possible since his goal is to serve Krishna. B. Treat it as material energy and better to refrain from it. C. Whatever wealth one has, cultivate an abundance mentality. D. Increase one's wealth in an honest manner so that everyone in the world is inspired to work honestly. So I am now looking at the answers, and I see a C, I see a D, I see a C, I see a C, D. Wonderful. So the right answer for this is one should, whatever wealth one has, uh, one should cultivate an abundance mentality, which is option C. Uh, because especially in the point of D, there are many in the world who are working very honestly, and we have to. This is at least good for some time to inspire for people to work honestly. But nevertheless, a higher platform of that is to cultivate an abundance mentality. So a devotee, how he uses in a manner by which he feels that there is abundance, because this entire earth is given by the Lord, this entire sky is given by the Lord, and there is abundance for everyone. Just imagine if we focus on this earthly globe and see how much the size of our respective homes are, how much are we, even holding in this world? Very, very, very minute. If we have to take a percentage of the entire earth crust with whatever amount of square feet of our house is, it will be minuscule, right? And likewise, if we have to focus on what kind of space I have occupied, that will also be minuscule. So one have to think that everything belongs to the Lord, and I am just having this small quota, which is sufficient for me because Lord takes care of me. Uh, so with that, I would like to have a small summary on today's seminar. So first is visit Krishna. Uh, no matter what our platform is, whether we are in the platform of not asking anything from Krishna, or whether we are on the platform of seeking something, visit Krishna. Inspire each other and serve. So in our relationship with our devotee friends, we should inspire each other and serve the Supreme Lord and his spirit and his bona fide representatives. We should cultivate peer friendship in which we have various reciprocations, which we discussed. Taking care of all the body, mind, and soul aspect. We should be a responsible family man and woman, or depending on whoever the person is. And if even for the kids, they can be responsible kids, and cultivate an abundance mentality. So we can be a wonderful Vipra. Vipra is another term for the priestly class. So visit Krishna, inspire and serve, peer friendship, responsible family man, abundance mentality. So Hare Krishna. So a small activity coming to all of you. Can you expand the Vipra acronym in chat? I am looking at the chat. Take your time. So I see visit Krishna, inspire and serve. Nice. Visit Krishna. Beyond that, yes. PRA, inspire and serve. Wonderful. PRA, peer friendships. RA, responsible man. Yeah. Wonderful. And abundance mentality. Wonderful. So thank you so much. A lot of wonderful responses. And thank you very much. With that, I would like to conclude on my session. And I would now stop my share.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Advait Kripa Prabhu. This was such a wonderful, very systematic presentation, very nicely presented. Before I open the floor for questions, I'll just like to make some quick announcements. So the devotees, as you see, today's class was Advait Kripa Prabhu, and next coming Wednesday, we have His Grace Prashant Mukunda Prabhu from Delhi Temple, from ISKCON Dwarka, who will be speaking on a beautiful, wonderful topic, is it my destiny or free will? And next Sunday, we have Prabhupada disciple, His Grace Nirantar Prabhu, who's going to speak on the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So you all could join and spread the word. At this point, if anyone has a question, you could either raise your hand or type it in the chat box, and we will address. If you type in the chat box, I'll read it out. Prabhu. Okay, go up, Gopal Govind Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Beautiful class. Thank you so much. Please accept my gratitude. I don't know, it's a question or a little comment. the little slide you had about the family. So the roles, wife being the commander and the husband being the president. I'm a little doubtful about that allotment. Maybe you
Okay.
can clarify that further before the tussle starts.
Okay. So, when I try to mention that, so the purpose of that was, so of course, these days the roles may be little, overlapping, but nevertheless, in that aspect, what I'm trying to say is that the ownership of the what decisions is being taken at the home goes with the husband, but how the decision is arrived is generally taken by the wife, because there can be, like, the temple commander is has to execute things, and most of the time, especially if it is a wife who is primarily taking care of house. Certain time it may be a joint responsibility, it may be a different scenario, but many a times wife is the primarily taking care of the house. In such a scenario, she is more aware of what are the needs and what are not the needs, and it should not happen that the husband all of a sudden thinks something, and bring something, and then some kind of issues may happen, that, oh, it was not wanted and you got it. So, and there can be a number of examples which probably the householders may experience in their due course of time, but nevertheless the aspect is that the ownership of decision ultimately has to be with the husband. Even if it is a faulty one, then he cannot say that, oh, you only have decided or whatever. But the process has to be taken care, in terms of how the execution happens in the family, how children are being grown. A major portion of that goes to the wife. Still, based on the situation, it may vary, and every unit is independent. They have to make their own decision. Thank you. That was a sensitive point.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I would add that maybe sometime you can add a referee also in that.
Yes, yes, definitely. And the referee has to be such so that both of them listen to them.
Yeah, our Radha Sham Sundar is our referee here, but sometimes he take the mute role, sometimes he takes aggressive role also.
Hmm. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Anybody else? Any other question? Prabhakar Prabhu, you can unmute yourself.
Hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Hare Krishna. My
Okay.
name is Prabhakar. I am one of the graduates from IIT, and that is Chennai. You didn't mention that you visited them. Um, when did you become Krishna conscious? After finishing your degree or after starting to work, and how did you get into that part of the life, spiritual aspect of it? Were you as a student, were you thinking about it also? That is one question I have. And what is your advice to me? I graduated in 1963, so I am a pretty old yeah, engineer. Worked almost up to 2 years or 3 years back. So can you give me a suggestion how I should become more serious about becoming Krishna conscious?
Thank you, Prabhakar sir, and please offer my respect. Please accept my respect, first of all, because you are my senior even in academic terms. And yet, fortunately, by Lord's grace, I got associated with the spiritual aspect of life way back in my first year of BTech. And thanks to my spiritual mentors who took the extra effort to come down to my institute, and that's how I got connected. And I feel the the only aspect which made me introduce was the fortune, which is the blessings of the spiritual acharyas and the teachers, mentors who are taking their pain right now. So otherwise, I would have also been late. It's not that something extra I have done, but nevertheless, some other aspects also happens, like one has to be eager to accept that. And I fortunately made sure that some decisions has to be taken in such a manner by which I can happily accept the spiritual path. And and probably I have a lot to learn from you on how you have taken your life further, and probably you may give me more lessons on that. And nevertheless, on the spiritual aspect of life, I would say that uh, this is not being told by me. Even the spiritual acharyas proclaim that after 50, one should focus more on spiritual life and consider that the social life is kind of negligible for oneself. And I am sure that you may be probably over 50. You have been passed out in 1961. So probably 50 years of career itself may be there. So focus on spiritual life, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein it's a pure devotional service being proclaimed and nothing else. That scripture of Srimad Bhagavatam, it can be relished by anyone who is just eager to give an oral reception, and then the acharyas can do miracles in our life. And of course, the local devotees can help you on what that Srimad Bhagavatam, how it can be learned. That will be very helpful.
And they always advise that it is never too late.
Oh
And
yes, it's never too late, and at the same time, we have to make use of whatever time
yes,
the Lord has
remaining.
given to us. Yeah.
Yes. So I am close to 80, and I'm thinking of taking, the exams and all those things, becoming a real serious Krishna conscious person. So
Yes.
thank you very
Yes.
much for your
I am
help.
so glad to meet with you, and in fact, another respect to you because exactly the same age as my father.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
So Prabhakar Prabhu joined about a year ago, and he
Wonderful.
finished the disciple course, and now he's taking Bhakti Shastri also.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
My
So I
best
need your
wishes to you, sir.
blessing. I need your blessing.
My best wishes to you, sir. You have to offer me blessings.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Viraj
you.
Prabhu, you have a question? Can you come on the camera?
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It's a wonderful class, Prabhuji. One quick question, Prabhuji, related to Sri Dhamma life. How one should have the patience the Sri Dhamma had, and even if you try to make yourself or you try to adjust the thing, how one should have the other family members supporting you in that sense. It's very challenging. I mean,
Yeah. So the
one can
maturity,
try for themselves, but with the
yeah,
family, with the all other member of the family, how one all of us should have the same faith and same patience in the bhakti.
thank you very much for the question. And the maturity is one understands that I cannot change others. And it's by great fortune that uh, the Lord provides a particular family of same level of understanding, like in Sudama's case. In our case also, the Lord has definitely blessed us with a family with our level of understanding. Certain time we may feel I have little higher, like even in this case Sudama was a bit higher in his detachment, but nevertheless he was eager to accept the opinion of one's wife. So likewise, focus has to be more on how one can cultivate Krishna consciousness without creating uh, unnecessary anxiety in others mind. And gradually everyone will uplift. It's not that you will practice spiritual life and the entire family will simply sleep. They will be also seeing that what are you doing, right? Like in my case also, the day when I get up early, then my child is more inspired. And the day when I am not getting up early, the child knows that today father is also in relaxed mood, so I also have to be in relaxed mood. So we have to set by example, and
Thank you,
differences will be
Prabhu.
there. Yeah, thank you.
Abhay?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for this wonderful class. I joined a little late. I take full responsibility for that, but it was whatever I heard. It was just amazing. It was so deep in each and every way. So Ruji, I just had one question about the abundance quality that you were talking. That was like one thing that, just like put a spark for me. So how can we actually cultivate that mood, like in which even during the toughest times, no matter what the situation is, how can
Yes.
we accept, oh, Krishna is giving this to us and we should just accept it, like don't complain, but just consider it, oh, I have everything. Why am I still complaining? Even when we have nothing. So how do we think of that, Prabhuji? Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So a simple way which I have learned from my mentors is one should count on one's blessings. No matter what the situation is, you have at least two eyes, right? And two ears which are functioning, a nose which is functioning, teeth which is functioning. If the two eyes are not functioning, to replace one eye may itself cost a lot, even from cost perspective. What to speak from other perspective of challenges. So no matter what the difficulties are, we have to count on blessings, and the blessings count uh, will really make a difference in our life. And therefore it is told that in material life, generally the difficulties from our perspective happens because we see something missing in material front. So therefore in material life we should look for people who are below us, and in spiritual life we should look people for who are above us. But the problem with us happens when we see do the reverse. In spiritual life we see, oh, that guy is only chanting few rounds and he's relaxing, and I am miserable. And in material life we try to see, oh, that person is having so much of worth, and what I am nothing. Then misery happens. So this is a very simple way, and this is an entire session in itself. But yeah, thank you for the question.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you mentioned one of the examples you gave of how Sudama and Krishna were holding their hand
Yes.
going into the forest, and there was a storm, and they still were together. And you were saying how that way we can balance our material spiritual life. Sometimes people tend to think that when there's challenges, may it be financial, family, whatever, we should first take care of those needs first, and not just our spiritual activities. Just focus on our own sadhana, on our own things that needs to be fixed first. But you mentioned that no, you should not at the same time give up your service or spiritual activities. Can you?
Yeah.
Uh,
So thank you, Prabhu. I think Prabhuji, you can probably elaborate more to these audience. You are more relevant and you know more than me. Nevertheless, since you have asked the question, so as an etiquette, I will respond. So when it comes to balancing, it's not a static thing. Just like this also I have learned from the mentors. Just like if you are driving a bicycle. So if you are driving a bicycle, the standard formula would be to keep the handle straight. At the same time, there may be certain time a turn, and in that case, we have to tilt to a particular direction. Now, tilting doesn't mean that we lay down the cycle in that particular direction. We just tilt in that direction. Likewise, certain time the tilt have to be on the other direction. Likewise, certain time difficulties may be there, and depending on person's situation, it has to be done under guidance. We may have to see the quantum of how much time we are investing in spiritual aspect of life and in our occupational aspect of life. Depending on the situation, the quantum may vary, but the consciousness should be always elevating. It should not be varying. One should feel the desire that, oh, I am not able to serve properly, and that has to be on the turn. Now the turn should not be a permanent thing, otherwise we'll be keeping round and round. We'll keep going there and there and will not progress further. So to sum it up, the service to Krishna, the quantum of that may vary depending on the situation and how the phase of life one is going in. Nevertheless, the quantum cannot be a zero aspect. It has to be something by which we remain inspired, and we feel the desire that I am not able to serve properly. And likewise, certain time we may be doing overdoing in our occupational aspect of life. we may be investing a lot of time, then we have to gradually come out also out of that. We cannot be always be occupied with our occupational duties and think that okay, now I have done good enough, let us also bring to the straight angle of my bicycle. I hope I could have addressed to some extent.
Very much. So on one side, it's like I may be taking a turn or focusing too much on my work and all. Now let me also bring it back. That's what you meant. The
Yes,
focus
yes,
should still be. But
yes,
what if one may think that, well, I've been doing spiritual too much. I've been making the other turn too much. Now let me
yes.
balance it, make it back and do some real, let's
Yeah,
be practical.
yeah,
Uh,
that also has to be there certain times, but again, we have to keep a check and balance. It should not be that after tilting this way we have gone tilting that way. Balance has to be based on guidance.
the other thing is the pastime of Sudama somewhat makes me remember also the pastime of Tukaram. That although Tukaram didn't really go to Vittal, but he was always serving Vittal.
Yes,
But as he was in the farm and he came back, his house also turned into a very opulent, rich. His wife was in jewelry, and Shivaji Maharaj had given so much wealth, I believe. That's what happened. And when he came home, he was not so much shaken up. In fact, he told her to remove.
yes,
And Sudama also remained very humble going forward, although he got a palace and all the wealth that was required by to take care of his family generations. So something we can learn from that sometimes Krishna is probably testing us also
yeah,
by giving more than we need or
yes,
taking away something that we hold on to, and see that how do we react in those situations, because we tend to see that when Krishna gives us more, maybe bigger titles or bigger salaries, we end up putting ourselves in a situation where we take more upon us, and that with that comes more loans and more responsibilities and more and more. Krishna gave us more, but now what ended up happening is we are stuck,
yes,
because to maintain that more, or when he's taking something away, maybe my finances gone or my health deteriorated, and he's testing us, and we kind of give up at that point. So
yeah,
both are extremes. We shouldn't.
yes.
Yeah,
Irrespective of what situation, principle of simplicity should remain.
yeah. Thank you. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, well,
For the wonderful class. Can I ask a question?
yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Who
Prabhuji,
is
I was
asking? I am not able to see.
Yeah, I'm just going to highlight. Go ahead.
Prabhuji, so my question was, it probably depends where we are in spiritual practice, at which level, but how do we know that if when we're receiving something that's maybe like that's materialistically very opulent, or something that is not okay, so if we're receiving something opulent, if how can we understand it if this is Maya, or this is something that Krishna is giving us and that we can use it in Krishna's service, or like if it's something that we should avoid best for a spiritual practice? If you could say something on that. Thank you.
Yeah. So if this is the principle which is laid by our acharyas, anukulasya sankalpa, pratikulasya varjanam. If anything is helping further our Krishna consciousness, it should be accepted. Anything which is not favoring our furthering of Krishna consciousness, it should be rejected. So very wonderful question. It can be certain time that it is not helping us further our Krishna consciousness, and then we have to take the will and determination to let go of some things. It has to be done under guidance. It is not objective answer for it. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
I was just looking at your qualifications. IIT Kharagpur, and then having spoken at many other IITs, NITs, and all these recognized universities, some of the top-notch students, teachers, and then you several times in your class, you mentioned your mentors, your counselors. I'm not sure if your counselors and mentors are also academically from such, you know, IITs, grads and all.
Yeah, not
How do you,
necessary. Yeah.
not necessarily.
Yes.
How do you not become so familiar to them and keep your humility and start thinking, hey, listen, you know, I graduated, I've studied enough. I know Krishna consciousness in and out. And my mentors, you know, how do you not get familiar with them and start committing offenses?
So I will say that that will come with practice, because the more we learn in Krishna consciousness, we understand that we don't know many a lot, and best is to focus on our faults whenever we get into pride. There are many faults which I have, and which may become another class if I have to give, not to this audience, probably to my mentor's audience. So one should not focus on one's qualification, but one's disqualifications while looking towards mentor, and that way we can see their greatness. And educational qualifications, wealth or beauty, these are all mentioned in the scriptures that they can lead to pride, and pride is an enemy for bringing devotional service in our heart. So it will come with practice and with association of other humble devotees. So it's not that it's my credit. I am also fortunate to have wonderful devotees who are also cultivating similar manner.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. I am very be pleased to be with all of you this evening your time and this morning my time. I think apart from the camp to students wherein I have been residing, I have never given a morning class 6 o'clock. Generally we when for students we have a 6 o'clock morning class. We tell that why we should chant, and this is the first time in my spiritual life that I am giving a 6 o'clock session on a very thought-provoking sessions kind of thing.
You
Thank you
live
very
near
much.
the Pune Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra temple. You're
Yeah,
affiliated with.
yeah. I am just around 900 meters from that temple.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I was very impressed by. I had reached out to Radhesham Prabhu, who's the temple president, I
Yes,
believe.
yes. He's
Yeah,
my mentor, one of my mentors. Yes,
right. He's also an IIT grad,
yes. He's also from IIT. He's a master's from IIT Bombay. Yes.
Bombay. Yeah, and I had reached out to him for giving a class, and Prabhu told me that, you know, Ramchandra Prabhu, I can the timing in the morning from 4:30, 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock is my morning sadhana. So I
Yes.
don't do any classes. And I
Yes.
kept insisting, Prabhu, one class sometime, whenever you tell me. Then he was so humble. He said, okay, what I can do is try and give you a class at 3 a.m. my time. So before
Oh.
my morning program, I will come on the call at 3 a.m. So between 3 and 4, if there is something you can arrange for me, we will do it. And so much humility. Every email that I wrote to him responded timely and did not just, you know, close the subject. And I felt, no, how can I ask you to speak at 3 a.m.? That's not right from my side. But very humble, and that's when he gave your name and a few other devotees, Mukunda
Yes.
Prabhu and a few
Yes.
others. So
Yes.
it's a wonderful. I'm very much affiliated with Pune Temple. I'm from Mumbai originally,
Hare
but
Krishna.
we come to Pune all the time. And the exemplary, how many brahmacharis are there in Pune Temple?
So it keeps varying, but yeah, of the order of 100.
About order of 100 or so. Very, very beautiful temple. The devotees who ever get a chance to visit Pune, it's one of the very fabulous temples. Very big, but mainly the devotees there are the main jewels of that temple, not the buildings, not the marbles, but the way it's running. It's just awesome. And Prabhuji, you did share, you came in, like, what was it that made you that click that this is the moment, this is the organization I want to join? What was the turning point in your life?
So fortunately, I did not knew about the organization aspect. I got connected through devotees, which will be the case of most of the people. They first get connected with some devotees, they love them, and then they feel that this organization with the philosophy which is provided, with the wonderful ambience of devotees, it's wonderful. So I got connected in 2001 when I was doing my first year of BTech, and you can that time I was in the youth wing of ISKCON, which was uh, given a name in a way by which it was appealing to us. It was called as base that time, now it's called as voice. And yeah, after a couple of years uh, we knew about all the things of how ISKCON function. In fact, the first year also we came to know that this is the ISKCON associated with ISKCON organization. So uh, I felt probably the second year of my journey of Krishna consciousness, I felt that this is the wonderful way which I would lead my life. So 1 year goes in the certain time, also learning. In fact, the learning mode also has to be in a submissive way, and then we can very easily see within a matter of few months that yeah, this is a wonderful place to learn and grow in spiritual life.
Thank you. I believe Gopal Govind Prabhu has a question.
Yep, I was just one second. Okay, so no, Prabhu, I was just curious to know with your experience and the background, for a newcomer in the Hare Krishna movement, it sounds like very overwhelming, like when the first time encounter chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra looks like one yoga, like very long mantra. So what is your message, short message for those like intellectual people to be attracted with the Hare Krishna?
Actually, even for the people who focus on intellectual aspect, we have to see that suppose we are watching some programs at television, it requires at least 30 minutes to grasp what they are saying. Because many a times, even to get to the metal of what the people are speaking, it's at least require 30 minutes of program. It cannot be an ad. If the moment it comes as an ad of few seconds, you see and you forget it. So even for those who may be taking to chanting in an early stage, 25 minutes to 30 minutes is a very good time to begin with an unadulterated focus. That means we don't keep on seeing the mobiles and things. And for anything, we require some kind of perseverance. With this wonderful way to chant, especially in the initial stage, we can chant in chorus. That means two, if possible, two people can be chanting together, and then the echo of that, the resonance of that voice inspires us more. I remember in my early days also we used to do that. Even now, when we go to colleges, we do the same. And that for first few months they chant in chorus, because what happens when everyone is chanting, for an outsider it appears like a buzzing sort. While when you chant in chorus, it appears even more emphatic. So for early comers, they can practice chanting in chorus. It may help.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. One last question.
Sure. Who is asking?
Thank you, Prabhu. It's a nice presentation. So actually, you have mentioned in your presentation that you can identify a best peer, who is practicing the spiritual path. So how about like who is not practicing any spiritual? How we can identify who is the best peer?
Yeah. So one who is not practicing, at least we can see that the values are common. That way we can find it. Interests are common. At the same time, best is to make them also get inspired in your spiritual practices. That way, you will get the same kind of peer friendship. Like I remember when we had, I had kind of started in the journey of Krishna consciousness. Many of my friends were not there, but then gradually they got pulled in and we got friends together. So pull your friends, make them also learn. That way, together we'll have a wonderful journey. And otherwise, the interest and like values may help.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much. And I would like, and once again, thanks a lot to Ramchandra